On New Year's Day 2025, after having spent the morning interviewing people at SeaTac Airport, I wound up having a free afternoon, so I took to the light rail and struck up a conversation with a young man getting on the train with his bike. He wanted to remain anonymous, but he turned out to be somebody who thinks a lot about how we communicate, and some of his thoughts were quite similar to mine. When we got into questions about epistemology, I found his thinking to be somewhat on the pessimistic side. Consider his statement that he's not sure he wants all of his beliefs to be true because reality is desolate. Our John Doe seems to have a low estimation of his own judgment, but wants to give himself plenty of latitude to be wrong. I find myself wondering whether he's right. Can any of us claim to have enough of a grasp of what's really going on to say that we have well-justified beliefs? Let me know what you think in the comments. My name is Nick, and this is Conversations on the Coast. Afternoon.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Would you be interested in doing an interview while we ride the train today?
About what?
Well, I do a podcast called Conversations on the Coast, and
Okay.
I talk to people about something they believe, and then we work together to critically reflect on the reasons and justifications that lead to the belief. It's kind of an exercise in critical thinking.
Okay, well, will it be anonymized?
It can be. You can
Cool.
give me a fake name if you like. Yeah, just as long as it's a handle I can refer to you by.
Sure, and I can, cool.
Or we can do without a name at all, and I can just call you John Doe. I've done that with someone I've interviewed before.
Okay, let's give it a try.
Cool. So my name is Nick.
Hey, Nick.
I'll just call you John then.
John, yeah.
Sounds good. What brings you to the train today?
I just want a New Year's Day hike in
Nice.
Seward. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've been trying to do some positive things on New Year's Day. I actually started the day going down and interviewing people at the airport in baggage claims.
Okay.
So what I say down there is, you're here to pick up your physical baggage. I want to talk about your psychological baggage and how it supports your beliefs.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
But that doesn't need to be what we talk about. But yeah. So what is something that you're convinced is true that if you didn't believe that it was true, or if you stopped believing, it might change the way you act or change the way you are in the world?
That fundamentally, or maybe not fundamentally, that humans are capable of understanding what each other and what each other are experiencing and thinking.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I can reflect that back to you.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about maybe the problem of human consciousness and the fact that you can, I can understand what's in your brain even though I'm not in your brain? Am I reading too much into that?
No, yeah, I tend to shy away from thinking too much about consciousness because I think a lot of it is maybe fundamentally unanswerable questions. But pretty. That's pretty close. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because it's actually a topic that's interesting to me because one of kind of my areas of specialization and where I kind of have some philosophical leanings is in communication. And I actually have a talk I give where I talk about the fact that because I can't interact directly with your brain state, that communication itself is between people is kind of impossible. And it's kind of a marvel that we do it.
Yeah, no,
But-
I guess, yeah, that is similar to what I think about.
Yeah.
Except I don't know. I've run into that problem of thinking that that's if
Mount Baker.
if there are differences in neuron in how my neurons are compared to how your neurons are,
Yeah.
or in the structure,
Uh-huh.
then can you really have the same exact pattern occurring in both of our
Yeah.
brains? But I don't. I think that might not be what we talk about when we talk about communication.
Okay.
That it might not necessarily be that you have to have a literal reproduction of the exact same neuronal pattern
Yeah.
in my brain that is then in your brain.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I think it might be like structure on like the structure of like the dynamics of our brain on like a just like a higher organizational level than simply just the architecture of our like neural pathways and what our neurons actually are and how they function.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is this like an area like of research for you, or is this just something you like to think about?
I study biology.
Okay.
And I'm into philosophy of biology. But again, I tend to shy away from neurobiology, neuroscience.
Yeah.
Because it kind of seems like a topic where I could spend put a lot of labor hours in.
Yeah.
And get very few answers, which I would feel very solid about.
Yeah. So you're maybe talking about getting lost in the details, and you're looking for kind of like a higher level abstraction. Is that?
Yeah, I just think that the like mammalian brains are pretty complicated, and I think simpler systems are just ones that I would rather be focusing on, so that I can feel like I have a better understanding.
Right.
And mostly I just want to avoid spending my time thinking through and like learning about things and then like realizing later, or someone else realizing later that what I have my work is was just really off because of some like basic assumptions that I had. Yeah.
Cool. I'm really tickled because this literally is like something I think about a lot.
Yeah.
But this is where the hard work begins.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is figuring out how do you know what you know. So, what would you say is the main reason that you believe that we can communicate despite these challenges?
I mean, I think as far as like I said that I like philosophy of biology. I actually don't. I've never really been trained in philosophy, and so whenever I've hung around people who study philosophy, I always find that my ideas have been thought about, but I don't actually know the best the conclusions that other people have come to. But I don't know. I feel like we tell ourselves that we can know things in ways that we probably can't know them, and that it really comes down to experience, whether that be external experience that makes us feel that we can know something about what we experienced, or the experience of our own thinking.
Yeah.
And we think that for example, kind of very taking a very logical approach to teasing through a problem. We can feel at the end of that we know something, because we have an experience of using that tool in the past, and it feels as though it has helped us understand something.
Right.
But I don't actually know if that means that we truly understand it, that we actually know it. So I think what it really comes down to is that I have experienced what I believe is actual communication with people, to where as many questions as I can ask, I feel like I'm going to know the response because I've reached, a point of communication with them. So,
So I think I heard two things in that.
Yeah.
Just to boil it down. One is that you have an experience which leads you to believe that communication has happened. And the second thing, which I think I heard, again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I heard you say that you're able to predict what somebody is going to say back to you as a confirmation that you've communicated. I kind of picked that out of one sentence you said, and tell me if I'm hearing you wrong.
Yeah, like for example, if you had told me you were like hungry, and I knew that you liked high chews, I might say like that you have communicated to me like a certain state that you were that your body and experience is in, and I would predict that like you might want some high chews because those things are like connected, and so I'd ask you if you like high chews, and if you want a high chew, and you said yeah. So
you might not be. You would expect that I might not be surprised if you offered me a high chew in response to me saying that I was hungry.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is let's separate those two things out, because I think those are two really interesting things, and I think they're separate. So, why is having an experience and observing something a good reason to believe that what you've observed is communication?
Soto, doors to my right.
I mean, I don't necessarily think that is like inherently a good reason. Yeah, I don't really know if there's like a way of knowing that yeah.
So if we're gonna make a pie chart that speaks to the reasons that support this belief, how big of a slice in the pie is your experience and your observation of people? Or of your own experience.
Can you try reframing the...
So we talked about potentially two reasons why you believe this, right? One of them is that your experience and your observations lead you to the conclusion that you've participated in communication. The second is that you can predict what someone is going to say back based on what you've said to them, and that leads you to believe that. So, are there other things aside from those two things which kind of contribute to this belief?
And maybe this isn't an exact answer to your question.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is I don't think anyone is above mystical, non-material thinking. Okay. And I think that even those who think they are just kind of couching their intuitions in that way.
Okay.
And might not be, like, confronting them. And I'm not saying that I, like, rely upon any sort of mystical or intuitional thinking. But there's probably just something about my beliefs around communication and how it works that just like feel correct when I think about them in kind of an intuitive sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would it be possible for someone to feel correct about something and that lead them to a false conclusion?
Yeah.
All right. So how confident should you be in something if you have an intuition about it and you feel it's correct?
I mean, I feel like the cop out is it's a case by case, and it depends on like what the subject matter is.
Yeah.
You know, maybe my beliefs around what's going to happen when I interact with a like calculator. Maybe like I could feel confident about that, but maybe more complex things I should feel less confident about it. But I think generally just being humble in the sense of like never really expecting that anything that you think is going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
But just kind of trusting that if it doesn't go how you expect, you'll be able to
International District.
come up with some way of understanding the world that will, allow you to act in the world and be confident in yourself enough to be psychologically healthy and and then you'll be able to get through whatever situation is going to happen. But
so maybe it's again, I'm kind of reinterpreting what you're saying, paraphrasing. It sounds like the specific things we're talking about are pretty low stakes. So maybe intuition is good enough. Is that unfair to?
I kind of think that this applies
Now entering
in all situations.
District, Chinatown.
Again, like I mentioned before, that it is context dependent, and if it is something that is higher stakes, then if you want to be characterized as a careful human being, which is things that people tend to appreciate, especially, or if you have responsibility for others, then you probably should try to have an understanding of the situation that you're making decisions upon, to where you feel the most as confident as you can be.
Yeah.
But I think that every amount of confidence should have an acknowledgement that you're not omniscient.
Where can you think of a case where you definitely would not want to make a judgment based on something as potentially unreliable as intuition?
Square.
Well, I think maybe a quirk of my personality is that it's not that I don't enjoy responsibility, but if I want to take on responsibility, I want it to be shared with all the people who might take on the consequences in kind of like a cooperative, democratic way. Because I don't think that's. If it's a really high stakes, let's say that has something to do with with this the system that we're talking about is a complex social system, and the stakes are people's lives.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
This is the 1 line to Linwood City Center.
I'm under no illusion that I am going to be able to understand it enough to make the right decisions.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But also, oftentimes, I look at other people who want to take on the responsibility, and I'm like, well, I definitely don't fucking trust you.
Yeah.
But so
what? I mean, I don't want to assume this. Do you want the things that you believe to be true?
Yeah, but I think I've been, I think there's been a lot of people who I've recognized as wiser than me, both through, communicated through my own personal observations and knowing them as individuals, or just by it's communicated through some sort of medium and it's just me interpreting what they've communicated. Sorry, I got lost there for a second. That there's people that I've noticed who are wiser than me who have pointed out that everyone wants to believe that the things that they believe are true.
Yeah.
And so, and that can lead to, there's very many like narrative parable type things of how that can lead to bad unintended consequences. So I try as I strive to investigate my own beliefs in that way, so that I'm not just trying to do that, but also I don't think that's. I don't know if anyone can do that thoroughly, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the question I asked was, do you want your beliefs to be true? And I think what you're getting to is, can you actually tell that they're true? Which is kind of the next step beyond. But it sounds like you do want your beliefs to be true.
I mean,
no?
There's definitely some beliefs that I would want to be true, because I would probably find reality to be a lot more desolate.
Okay.
Which also, wise people have communicated to me, directly or indirectly, that the more you find out about reality, it usually tends to be desolate. But
Now entering Westlake.
but for the most part, I would actually rather just have I'd rather just listen to what the world is telling me than try to impose my own beliefs upon the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you had an important decision to make,
This is the one line.
are you saying that you would be comfortable making a decision and you don't care whether that decision is the right decision or is based on factual information?
I mean, I would
based on truth?
I would always hope that the decisions that I'm making are true.
Okay.
Or are true. Are going to be correct. I guess true would work.
Yeah, true, fact, correct. I think they're all kind of.
But I don't necessarily know if that has to do with whether or not the models in which I base, my mental models which I base that decision on, are themselves somehow a reflection of reality.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to it, I am just always aware that all of my decisions are made off of limited sets of experiences, and that's there's always a chance of failure. So I'd hope that but I'm not gonna be fundamentally upset at myself for making a wrong decision.
Let's say you make a decision.
Okay.
And you make the right decision.
Okay.
Does it matter to you whether the fact that you made the right decision was a random consequence of you just choosing something, or whether the fact that you made a right decision, the right decision, was based on you having a firm foundation behind that belief?
I mean, it would be experientially and aesthetically pleasing to me if it turned out it was due to correct beliefs, but that seems more just like a preference.
Okay. So at the end of the day, you care about the outcome, but you don't necessarily care whether you had a good foundation for that decision. Does that have any implication for the next decision that you make?
Well, I would say that maybe that's not a true characterization of how I feel, and possibly was possibly some of this is this miscommunication would be around maybe me thinking too aloofly about the concepts. When it comes down to it, I want to be aligning my decisions with reality.
Okay.
And I guess I try to not be upset when that doesn't happen. I try to learn from that and try to then update and correct. But also, I do think that, especially one second. Especially with materialistic worldviews, people tend to really get bummed out when the world doesn't abide by their mental models. But then also, I do find non-materialistic worldviews to just take sets of facts and just like warp them to their worldviews. So
yeah. I want to pick out one thing that you said that I really liked, which is you said something about correcting and updating.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
I mean, I'm not gonna try to. I don't mean this in a way where I'm trying to be like hard on myself.
Yeah.
But I think I might not necessarily always be the best at that. And I think.
But what is it that you aspire to do there? Like, you were talking about your mental model, and if we're talking about making decisions based on basically intuition, right? How does learning and updating your mental model apply to the idea of making decisions based on intuition?
Let's see. I guess often when I do that, it's because there's some sort of outcome that I think is like good, and that can mean good for myself. That can mean good for others. That can mean good for my idea of what some larger system. I guess good for others is referring to a larger system that's outside of me. It's just another person.
Yeah.
So I personally think of how I define something as good as being like my morals, which I think are other mental models of how, things will help the most amount of people, the most amount of things, not people necessarily. I guess because there's living and non-living things as well that I would like to make sure are thriving or persisting. But, and so if I feel like my actions have contributed to a negative outcome, I try to understand why. Yeah. If there was a set of assumptions or some information I didn't have beforehand, and if there was some information I didn't have beforehand, then how could I have figured that out? That information beforehand. Yeah. Which I think this whole like process of has like started to turn me into like a really exhausting individual to talk to.
University of Washington. Doors to my left.
But yeah, and I want to make sure that there are good outcomes to my actions.
Yeah.
And at the end of triaging a bad outcome, you have to determine how much blame you can put upon yourself.
Yeah.
And then what you can do moving forward. But I guess I actually don't think that that to get good outcomes, you have to understand the system outside of yourself, or the system inside of you don't have to understand yourself.
Yeah.
I think that is helpful when balanced with I don't know, balanced with some other aspects that is maybe a little bit less logical.
Okay. Cool.
Maybe like moral heuristics or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is
Awesome.
one line.
So I didn't ask you at the beginning. I often do ask what your confidence level is in your belief from between 0 and 100. So I'll ask a dual question. One is, can you put a number on that? And would you say that through this conversation, do you think you've modified that confidence in the belief that, and remember we started by saying, right, that we can communicate and we're able to understand each other.
Next stop, View District.
I mean, I don't know if... I often don't know if I can tell if I have changed that quickly.
Yeah.
I'd say this definitely has, maybe allowed me to, this exercise has allowed me to talk things through in a way where I have, examined my beliefs a little bit better. But, I don't know if I'm more or less confident yet. I don't know, get back to me in a week, maybe a couple years.
Could you put a number on your confidence?
I don't think so. And I don't know.
I mean, is it zero? You have zero confidence in that belief?
Oh, okay. At first I thought we were asking whether or not that it was changed, how much it changed.
No. I just mean the way you feel right now.
The way I feel right now?
Belief. Yeah.
I mean, probably a good 80.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
pretty darn confident, but you're leaving room for doubt and saying it's possible you're wrong.
Yeah.
What could make you more confident? What could push you closer to 100?
I don't actually think that there could be any. I guess the continuation of successful communication with other people.
View District. Doors to my left.
Having miscommunication and going from a state of miscommunication to a state of communication, of understanding.
Okay.
Those kinds of experiences definitely increase my confidence in it. And I guess it's just more experiences that I believe are
Linwood City Center.
true communication.
Okay.
Yeah.
What might reduce your confidence?
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I guess if people who I thought I had communicated with had come up to me and told me that gave me new information that made me realize I just totally did not understand this person. Then maybe if that happened on enough times, I don't know. No, actually, yeah, I'm not really sure.
I don't know is a great answer.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. I think that's all the questions I have. Any thoughts or feedback on this process?
No, it was a good process. This was fun. What's the name of the podcast?
Awesome. It's called Conversations on the Coast, and I got a QR code if you want to scan it. Unfortunately, the QR code is on the phone. I should have business cards next week. I kind of slept on creating them, but I have a business card with a QR code. There it is. So that will take you to it. It's on YouTube, so it's not a real podcast. It's a playlist on YouTube podcast, but that should bring it up.
Cool. And actually, could we go back to that so I can take a picture of it too? I just followed it, but I would like to take a picture of it.
Sure.
Come back to it.
Indeed.
It's where.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was fun. That was
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks much, John. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
All right. And this will eventually show up there, but I'm like 6 months out, so have a great day. You've been listening to Conversations on the Coast, a series from Washington State featuring civil conversations using street epistemology to explore what people believe and why. Find out more at streetepistemology.com.